the story of our world every day. Listen and your heart may open up. If ever you feel frightened of our world that's washed away, a mother is a mother, come to us. Women, 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 women. Women sew the fabric of our world every day. History of violence made it through. The stories that we share will all live on until we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you.
Welcome to the hashtag 101 Nights show, brought to you by the Scheherazade Project. I'm Lisa Liebau, co-founder with Julia Alvarez. We're coming down to the wire. During this final week before Election Day 2020, we're hosting multi-artist specials each night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Please leave a comment in the chat about what hashtag 101 Nights has meant to you these past few months. More importantly, now is the time. If you haven't already done so, cast your ballot in this most important election. If there are long lines, bring food, something to read, or better yet, tune in to hashtag 101 Nights to pass the time. We'll be streaming a marathon of all episodes from 1 to 101 all day long on Election Day. This is it. Vote, everyone.
Hello. Thank you for joining us here tonight. My name is Eileen Chong, and I'll be sharing a couple of spoken word poems with you. This first one is called A Legacy of Daughters. If you cage a soul, it will tear itself to pieces to fit through the bars. It will starve itself to become smaller. It will chew up its own limbs to escape. If you bolt the doors shut, it will leap out the window into the next thing to take it away. It will board a plane and fly over the ocean. It will slam the car door shut and take the time to lock the door but not put on a seatbelt. It will run from your cage into another. Yours is only the first cage of many. You will watch her settle into her new nest and begin building smaller cages to prepare. Because dogs were not domesticated overnight, this is an intergenerational art. It is better to have daughters because no matter how far or how furiously they run, daughters come back, even when they know better. She picks up the shards of her own heart, stuffs them into her pockets wherever and whatever will fit. She's gathered herself as best as she can because no one will do it for her. But like the broken bits on the kitchen floor, too small for the eye that you find with your foot, something is left behind to hurt later. This next piece is called Natural Disaster. We're clever. We know better. We waded through the aftermath of disaster weather together. Mom was a hurricane, Dad was a landslide, and two wrongs don't make a right, they collide. Run inside. Shut the doors, close the blinds, not to hide, but to keep the damage from making it outside. Heavy silence. Storm clouds on horizon forecast another fight, and flight is not an option when your job is to witness and step in. Your body's the sandbags when the elements threaten to get too dangerous. The apocalypse is small. It can fit inside a house. The grass grew back so we picnic. Doesn't change the fact that the plates have shifted, are shifting, crushing us under the pressure to find a lover, nothing like what we can remember, to unmake ourselves from what we were built to resemble. I don't want to be the aftershock of the marriage that crumbled. We're clever. We should be able to do better. Ask my sister why she got married at the courthouse and didn't tell us, no family there to support her. Ask another why she stayed so long even though it was slow torture. Ask my brother why it's so hard to find someone worth to hurt for. Ask my parents why they got divorced when they did, when we were already grown and it was too late to change the course of their kids. Ask me how I stick around and yet never put roots down. Ask me how I run away yet managed to stay in place, lived my soul out of a bag in case of emergency, so I can't let my heart grow too big or too heavy to carry. You ask me why I don't build? It's just gonna come down anyway. Takes one good storm to wipe out years of what you made. When you live day by day, tomorrow is the same as yesterday. I can see the shore, but I think I'll just stay here. Still can't swim, though people tried to teach me, and floating is even easier than drowning. Say what you will, an earthquake is still a mover and shaker. In 1985, the hurricane, my mother, crossed the Pacific, grew mythic, and tore a path where the land wouldn't accept her. So this is just my conjecture. There are worse things than a natural disaster. The deadliest thing? Stagnant water. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay healthy, stay safe, and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Good night.
Hello, my name is Tyrese Coleman, and I'm here in lovely Silver Spring, Maryland. I will be reading from my collection, How to Sit, which was a 2019 PEN America Open Book finalist. You can find How to Sit at your local bookstore or small press distributor, or you can search for it along with all of Mason Jar Press's lovely collection of work at masonjarpress.xyz. The first piece I will be reading is called Why I Let Him Touch My Hair. I sat beside a white boy in a dead bar. Alone, he slurped beer, watched football. Hair yellow like an unpeeled onion, no signs of sun on his skin. A typical white boy. No match for me, yet I started it. Impressed him with what I knew white boys liked. Metallica, tits, Seinfeld. He was nice. Bored, I guess. We talked for a while, both in our 20s, both Southerners. I desired his attention because he didn't give it freely. He spoke anxiously. An awkward laugh followed every statement, every eyeball dash in my cleavage, each concerned glance upward at the wild black kinks springing from my head, and then each nervous scan behind him, around the room. His fear empowered me. In 5th grade, I fought a white boy beside a stack of gym mats. He touched me down there. I looked like a China doll, my aunt had said, fingering my jet black hair. Sizzled straight, it framed slender shoulders stuck against my skin, my hair grease and sweat. She favored me. They all favored me. Lighter than my cousins, my honey complexion drew their wrath. White girl, you think you cute. Headaches from pulled hair, arm scratches from fighting. I fought him. At least I tried. We never played together. He chased me around the gym, cornered his prey. We were children, just children, and maybe to him that was what children did. But there was authority to his touch, an exerted right, his God-given right to me, because I was pretty. He said I was pretty for a black girl. Another laugh, another glance around. My new friend took in my hair again, so I asked him what he thought about it. He said it was cool. I scooted closer to him, my cleavage slow dancing in his eyes, up, down, out, in, with every breath. I offered, do you want to touch it? We had an audience, another black woman beside me. I ignored her. Her disapproving stare should have told me something, the way she shook her head at herself. I offered him again, do you want to touch it? A white man used to visit my grandmother. He was married with kids my age. He drove a red truck, flying down our dirt road like it was his. I'd get home from school or playing and see his truck in the yard. The rule, don't go in that house when that truck in the yard. Middle of the day, face red with sweat. I remember him flushed and always smiling, brown mullet glued against his neck. He'd walk right on in the house, no knocking or nothing, as if it were his. I grew up in front of him. By 13, he looked at me funny, but most grown men did. Now he'd come, and I'd leave, or I'd stay, and he'd give my grandma the money right in front of me. Winches, what we were called during slavery. And without me seeing it, I knew he did that every time. Every time he gave my grandma money like she was his. In college, I let the white boys I worked with see my tits. We were friends. The bar was slow. I wasn't the only girl flashing my breasts that day. It was all right. The title, The Black Girl. The one and only, surrounded by white boys. The conversation, the color of my nipples. Were they coffee colored with large areolas? Were they saggy National Geographic tits? I laughed. We were friends. It was all right because of that time that drunk guy called me a nigger and they threw him out. Cool because they liked to rap. Were from Baltimore or Philly. Their boy was black. White boys who talked about the Asian hostess's sushi. White boys who said they never date a black girl even if she was pretty for one, or friends first. White boys who wanted to party with my black friends after work, 3, 4 in the morning, and when I said no, they're sleeping. White boys who demanded I wake their nigger asses up. White boys who refused to apologize. But we were friends though. Now, at a different bar, a different white boy extended a shaky hand toward me. I lowered my head. Who knows what I expected being petted would feel like. His touch was surprisingly soft. He rubbed my hair, only bending the ends. Done, he cried, I did it! His accomplished smile, my power disappeared, if it had ever existed to begin with. And this last piece I'm going to read for you is called I've Been Changed. Mighty Clouds of Joy played in my Sesame Street cassette player the old folks had stolen for their party. The room, tight with drink and singing, sucked light like my aunt's burgundy-painted lips wrapped around a Virginia Slim. I saw the room through a haze of gray cigarette smoke. A side table lamp lit the room in gold, romantic to my 8-year-old eyes. Uncle Pick and Cousin Babysis squared off in competing stances, arms and mouths wide, voices whiskey warmed in the dark rectangle that was my aunt's living room turned sanctuary. Pick sat. The rounded end of his stump poked out his shorts as it bobbed up and down, as if it still had a calf, as if it still had a foot, as if the heel of that foot stomped to the beat as the other full leg remained unmoved, thinking it didn't need to work. Once, I sat on the floor next to that stump and took his full glass of Color the Coke after ice melts and downed it without asking. He watched me gag from the fire, cough orange-red flames from my chest. He scolded, "That's what your little ass get." And I ran away before he could grab my arm and smack it. The songs were not hymns we sang at church, and I wondered had they made them up. These were lyrics about sinners overcoming sin, holding to God's unchanging hand. They sang as drunks do, oblivious, full of misplaced heart, of unconstrained emotions that warp their faces in twists of pain or happiness. I couldn't tell what. I know I've been changed. And Baby Sis took my face in her hand, her fingertips wet and cold as she smeared a thumb across my cheek. She was a vet too, like Uncle Pick. Korean War for her, Vietnam for him. Now they both sang, drank strong brown, and were too loud, argued about who had it harder. Pick saying Baby Sis, being a woman, didn't know what she was talking about, Anita, sit her ass down. And Baby Sis, well, she wasn't afraid to knock a cripple out. Pick moved me onto his lap. I watched his hands, his fingers swole, fat all the way down like burnt brown hot dogs, flickered as if playing a piano in the air. He clapped with hollow claps, and I thought maybe his palms couldn't uncurl, so used to having a Flintstones glass or cleaned out jelly jar topped full of strong brown inside them. They didn't know how to flatten or smack and make sounds anymore. This is why I was never afraid of him. No matter how much he screamed in his sleep or fussed when I dropped things and made loud noises, or when, after taking what he said was his medicine, his eyes were glassy and wet, searching for something on the walls only he could see. Baby Sis did stomping for him. Her short, curly afro seemed glistened, appearing wet in a mist of smoke. She stood in the middle of the living room, shaking the slat floors and vibrating the small house, about ready to bring down the curio so that my aunt had to say, "Calm down, bae. Calm down now." She sang for Fergie, her best friend she'd met in Korea. Fergie, round and brown as my uncle said, was the only one who could calm Baby Sis when she was drunk and looking for a fight. When she cried her mama didn't love her no more. When she feared going to hell and told my grandma not to change clothes in front of her because God hadn't healed her sickness yet. Then one day, Fergie didn't come around anymore. Tears filled the valley of Baby Sis's face. She begged God to relieve her, to take away the feelings. She knelt before me, took my arm, pressed her eyes into the soft flesh inside my forearm. Uncle Pick jerked me back. "Don't you touch her." My aunt pried me from their hands. I bit the inside of my cheek, tasted blood, but the tang could have been just the smoke and the memories they fought for absolution, memories that dripped from those songs with hanging melodies like cliffs we all could jump from. I know now why they both wanted to hold me. My small body was an altar to offer worship, to fill up with their sin or at least bear witness to it, so that in some way I could take it away. Sometime later, when I hold my children tight to my breast, my skin hot from drinking all day, I will wish I could pour my sins into them and know I too have been changed. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Holly. This is my essay, Someone's Daughter. The pro-life movement is defined by generosity, compassion, and love for women and unborn children. Vice President Mike Pence, August 5th, 2020. What does generosity look like? You approach the squat building, heart thudding in your chest. The website promised, "You don't have to do this alone," in cheery pink letters, but you feel very alone. Your friends are back at the bachelorette party. They're going to a SoulCycle class and brunch, while you're spending the morning at this pregnancy center. You rehearse what you want to say one more time. "My boyfriend and I aren't ready for this. We can't afford it. I'd have to drop out of grad school." Nothing about this story is untrue. The only lie is that you're scared you might be pregnant. You take a deep breath, check that the recorder in your purse is on, and push the door open. The air inside is stale, like an office building that hasn't been aired out since the 1970s. You enter the low-ceilinged waiting room. Stacks of infant formula teeter behind the reception desk. You notice 2 baby dresses hanging from the door, their faded fabric suggesting they've been there at least 2 decades. The Virgin Mary and several chubby angels stare down from the walls as you shift from foot to foot, waiting. Finally, a slight woman with dark hair emerges from the back. "Hello." She speaks softly, warmly, just on the border of simpering. "I'm Veronica. You must be Violet." "That's right. You made the appointment under a false name, the one you wanted to adopt when you were 6 and obsessed with the boxcar children." You nod, and Veronica leads you to a counseling room. Baby toys are arranged on the floor, a stack of alphabet blocks next to a race car track. You sit tentatively on the couch, under the watchful eye of yet more cherubs. Veronica closes the door, and with it, all thoughts of escaping to join your friends at brunch. She sits in a chair opposite you, across the floor of toys. "Is this your first visit here?" You nod again. "How old are you? Are you married, single, or divorced? When was the first day of your last period?" Veronica's gentle concern quickly gives way to probing insistence, although her smile never falters. "Have you ever worked with a psychologist? Do you live with the father of the baby? What's his name? How old is he? How long have you been living together? How does he feel about you being pregnant? Does he work? What does he do? What are your religious preferences?" For once, your anxiety works in your favor. Your shaky voice and constant fidgeting are perfect for a young woman who's scared she may be pregnant and doesn't know what to do. And Veronica's real purpose here is not to be gentle. It's to convince you that you shouldn't get an abortion. Like every other not quite kindly staff member at the nearly 60 crisis pregnancy centers in Virginia, her goal is to make sure you keep your pregnancy. They lure you in with offers of free diapers, baby clothes, formula, and pregnancy tests, like the one you're here to take. The price for this generosity? Your freedom to make the choice that's best for you. What does compassion look like? Before she'll give you the pregnancy test, Veronica needs to counsel you. What's happening now is that a lot of people are using contraception because you want to postpone pregnancy. A lot of times later on when you want to have babies, then you might have problems, she explains. This is a lie. There are many risks to abortion, different levels of risk, depending how far along you are and what type of procedure you have, also where you go for the abortion, and also your health. Some women have died from abortion. This is a lie. There's women who suffer from depression and anxiety after their abortions. There's more incidents of things, for example, like suicide. This is a lie. Throughout it all, Veronica keeps smiling and jotting down notes. After 30 minutes or so, she sends you to pee in a cup so that she can do your pregnancy test. She promises that it's more accurate than what you would buy at the pharmacy. This is almost certainly a lie too, but you can't be sure because she won't tell you the name of the test or let you see the box. You'd bet money that she bought it from the CVS next door. That's the thing. This center, like most crisis pregnancy centers, has no medical license. It's staffed by church volunteers with no medical background, and they're not bound by any of the regulations that legitimate medical clinics have to follow. They can tell you anything they want. Somehow, this doesn't stop them from receiving public funding. In Virginia, crisis pregnancy centers get revenue from the state for every single crayon stick figure on every single blaringly yellow "Choose Life" license plate on the road. You can't think about that now, though, because it will ruin your nervous, "please don't let me be pregnant" facade. You wait for Veronica to return with the test results, scanning the room for details that you'll include in your post-visit report to NARAL Pro-Choice Virginia. Finally, Veronica comes back into the room. She fixes you with an earnest gaze, and you think she's about to tell you that you're not pregnant, because, of course, you're not. Instead, she says, "Tell me about your partner. Have you talked about marriage?" Oh no. You reply that it's come up before, that neither of you were really ready. Veronica is ready, though. She comes back at you with, "What do you think he would say if you told him, 'Let's not have any more sex until we get married'?" You don't know how to answer that, but you don't have to. Veronica's here to talk, not listen. She proffers a pamphlet called "Is It Love?" Inside is a quiz for you and your partner to take together to test your marriage readiness. Scanning it quickly, you see that you get 2 bonus points if both of you are willing to abstain from sex until marriage. Sex has stunted your relationship, apparently. It just takes off and you stop really getting to know each other, Veronica explains. Only when you're married do you reintroduce sex into your relationship, and then you can rely on natural family planning to avoid getting pregnant. Just get to know your body, and then you do what is natural to your body, she assures you. You bite the inside of your lip to keep your disdain from flickering across your face. Only when you agree to propose abstinence to your partner will Veronica reveal that your pregnancy test was negative. By this point, you've been at the center for almost an hour. Your relief at the news is real. It means this meeting is coming to an end. Loaded down with literature and bad advice, you leave the hushed beige of the office block for the summer sun. What does love for women look like? It's still dark when you arrive at the clinic for the early shift. Looking out the front door, you groan when you realize that the protesters are already parading down the sidewalk. You know you're lucky. This clinic has a front parking lot that's considered private property, so the protesters have to stay on the sidewalk. They can't rush at patients trying to come inside, but they have other ways of making themselves known. This morning's crew is small so far. There are the 2 questionably close middle-aged men who just walk back and forth, reciting prayers to themselves and every so often throwing you a dirty look. They're mostly harmless. Then you see Matt, and your stomach drops slightly. He's out there with bullhorn at the ready, even though it's not even 7 o'clock yet, propping low-resolution images of melted baby dolls up on the bus shelter. You sigh and pull on your orange clinic escort vest like it's a suit of armor, then head out into the mid-December drizzle. Matt's bullhorn-propelled monologue assaults your ears as you emerge into the raw morning. The people of God are here for you. We'll help you. It's not too late to be a good mother, he beseeches the windows. Right now, you're in danger of burning in hell. You breathe deeply. At least this time, he isn't running after a car as it pulls out of the parking lot, banging on the windows and demanding the driver go inside and pick up the patient they just dropped off. Turn away from your wickedness. Turn away from your selfishness, he continues, pausing whenever a large truck whizzes by on the busy road. You're trapped in a selfish lifestyle that drives you to murder babies because you want sex but you don't want responsibilities. Take responsibility for the sex that you have. You're in danger of everlasting torment right now. You're pretty sure that everlasting torment is being trapped in a room with Matt and his bullhorn. When he realizes that there aren't any patients to abuse, Matt turns his attention to you and your fellow volunteers. Are you really that stupid to think that baby isn't alive? He asks. Are you that mentally retarded? Maybe I need to give you a biology lesson. You shuffle your feet and refuse to make eye contact. Taking deep breaths helps you keep your face like a mask. Wicked, evil, pathetic little cowards who can't stand up for what's right, he spits in your direction before comparing you to Nazis and slave owners. When the next car pulls into the parking lot, you plant yourself in between the driver's door and Matt. Don't worry about him, you assure the tiny woman behind the wheel when she hesitates. He can't leave the sidewalk. He can't, but you still feel him behind you. You've made yourself the focus of his attention now. This is a wicked woman who leads people in to murder babies, he shouts. Don't listen to anything she says. You let the words run off you like the raindrops as you smile at the driver and make a remark about the weather to distract her. As she walks inside, Matt gets quieter. Why are you such a wicked woman? He asks your back. What drives you? Stop being such a hateful bigot. His words slam into your body. You just absorb the abuse because that is your job. Deflect attention from patients so they can get in the door quickly and safely. But when you go home and take your orange vest off, it feels heavy with the weight of so many insults and accusations. Insults and accusations from strangers who crow that you're going to burn in hell simply because you're on one side of the parking lot and they're on the other. Because you want to give people the power to decide their own futures, and they think that makes you a wicked harlot. You exchange your vest for gym clothes and hit the treadmill. You focus on how the breath moves through your body, how your muscles work to propel you forward. Several miles later, your body feels like yours again, baptized in your own sweat. So yes, you've seen the pro-life movement's generosity, compassion, and love for women. You're intimately familiar with them. And as long as they are on the other side of that parking lot, you'll be out there standing in their way. Thank you.
Thank you to all the sisters. We may be wrapping up the hashtag 101 Nights campaign on Election Day, but the Scheherazade Project will continue beyond this one event. We've gathered such an incredible community of strong, fierce, creative women whose voices and art can continue to change the world for the better. There's so much work to do. First, let's finish this job. Make sure your vote counts.
Women.
Thank you to our generous donors. With your donations, we have been able to purchase video editing, transcription, and live stream scheduling software. We've been able to secure equipment like tripods, projector, lights, microphones. We've been able to upgrade social media accounts to business and Premiere. These are just a few examples of how your donation made it possible for us to produce hashtag 101 Nights. Without you, we couldn't have shifted our original plan of live performances in front of the White House to streamed performances online. Help us sustain and grow this beloved community by donating money, volunteering time, or by telling your friends about us. With your help, we'll be able to provide a wider platform for artists, produce higher quality videos, publicize our activism to bring voices to a wider audience, pay our interns, and hire an executive director. Please consider supporting us.
The stories that we share will all live on until we say these truths are our gifts passed on to you. When